I'm Karima Brown. It's Sunday and it's time for The Fix. Welcome to this edition of The Fix, where every Sunday we hold those in power to account. We tell you why it matters, how it affects you, and why you should care. Now, the world of work has been devastated by the outbreak of COVID-19 globally, with thousands of jobs lost as economies around the globe grinds to a halt. In South Africa, we have not escaped the impact, and currently we are in the second lockdown, which was announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa some 2 weeks ago. To unpack the changing world of work and everything that goes with it, and of course also employment during these unprecedented times, I'm joined now via Skype by Labour and Employment Minister Thulas Nxesi. Minister, thank you so much for taking our time to meet with us. Welcome to The Fix. Now, on Friday, both Business and Labour welcomed the government's amendments to the directive governing the COVID-19 Temporary Employer Relief Scheme, also known as TERS, saying that the changes brought clarity to its structure. Minister, just unpack for us what exactly are these changes ringing in, and how can employers and employees now better access things like UIF and other benefits?
Thank you very much, Karima. You would remember that the Unemployment Insurance Fund is an insurance which workers can be able to access as and when they lose the jobs and get some temporary relief. But as government, we have gone into taking an extraordinary step to say, given this particular crisis, which has caused problems for both the employers and the employees, we would need to come with special measures. And we said special measures, let's come with COVID-19 relief scheme, where we increase or we do some measures to ensure that all those who are employed, regardless, are able to access that particular scheme. If somebody has worked, for instance, for more than 24 hours a week, they will be able to do that. But we have said the relief is not just for the employees, it's also for the employers. We anticipate that a number of companies are going to be faced with problems. They might close down, some 6 months, some to a year. We must also help them in that temporary relief scheme to be able to see how we can pull the resources together whilst they are turning around their companies. And what does it mean? What is very clear is the UIF is going to be under pressure in terms of the funding which we are having, and we will have to take it because it is about saving the economy of this particular country. But what is very, very important, the overriding concern of the whole thing, it's not just we're talking the economy, but we're talking about this has been a health crisis, which unfortunately has forced us to intensify the health and the safety measures, the issues of hygiene, use of the protective equipment and social distancing to...
Okay, Minister, let me come in here quickly. I just want to get directly to the issue around capacity. I'm sitting here with a letter that's been written to a big business newspaper, and it's basically an employer that is fed up. The person says, I've been so frustrated and infuriated. I put in hours filling in numerous forms covering staff only to the UIF fund and the temporary employer relief scheme. And it's a disgrace. This is now, according to this letter writer, that the 3 weeks into the lockdown and my staff are suffering. I have paid UIF and pay as you earn on it, and they are not able to access the funds. The person says that they are not even able to reach the relevant authorities. What has been the strains on the system that you've been putting in place? Because obviously one has never imagined that UIF would be needed on the scale that we've seen now.
Karima, let's accept the fact that the UIF system was never meant to face such a huge demand. all along the system, it's a very, very small system, coping with 10 to 20,000 claims. But currently, we're talking millions of the workers who are doing that. What have we done? We have also acknowledged that in terms of our system, we're not going to be able to deliver as we're supposed to. And we have sought assistance from the different institutions, because right from the onset, we realized that there's going to be a pressure. We've gone into SARS, we've gone into some companies who want to help, and currently we used to have only about 25 processors. We've gone into Harambee, which we've increased our processors to 200, and which means, therefore, we are working almost a 3-hour shift. I mean, a 3 shift now, starting from 6 to 2 to 10, and even 10 to 6 in the morning, in order to be able to deal with the big requests which are being made. But also, we're saying the huge payments in the discussions which we're having will have to be done by SARS if they come on board. We've also contacted the banks to come and help us. We, from the onset, have acknowledged that our capacity would not be to be able to deal with this particular pressure. So we're dealing with all those issues at the current moment.
Okay, Minister, let me come in here. So if I am an employee at, let's say, a small business, and we've closed, and as a consequence, I now have to get UIF. How do I go about it? I know that you've encouraged employers to pay employees and claim back from the department later. How quickly does someone who's been laid off, how quickly do they get access to their UIF funds, and how quickly do you reimburse the employer?
We have said those who can afford, not all of them, we know that some of them cannot afford. Those who can afford, they can be able to pay, but those who cannot afford, they must just apply to us directly, and then we process that. But unfortunately, because we're dealing with the issues of money here, there must be accountability. We can't just simply pay. We will have to verify the documentation and so on. And then after that, we can be able to pay. According to our guys who are controlling our systems, if all the necessary documentation is available, they can be able to pay in 48 hours. That's how the system works. It means we can be able to advance some money to you, and then you pay your workers, but later on we're going to follow it with the auditors, because there must be accountability.
Absolutely. Now, one of the things that a lot of people have questions about is just the question around, or rather informal workers. 60% of South Africans are involved in the informal economy. I know that the economic cluster has been sitting this week both at NEDLAC as well as in technical committees, and Cabinet is meeting tomorrow to discuss the economic measures. There is a sense that you need to offer some relief to people in the informal economy, people such as freelancers, people in the gig economy. What exactly is the Department of Labour putting on the table as measures to deal with people who are in the informal economy and who are freelancing? What kind of financial assistance can we expect from you, Minister?
First of all, let's accept that those informal workers are outside the existing social security system, and government has committed itself to developing a safety net for all those outside that social system. There is clearly a need to address the plight of those who are receiving no income or grant, and what we are saying, it's a matter which we will have to look into. That is why government has been able to set the various funds, solidarity funds and so on. But in terms of the current legislation, they can't be able to qualify in terms of the UIF Act. Otherwise, we will be seriously violating and we can be taken to court. But government is looking into all those issues. But I think it is a wake-up call for us that for the future, we need to start having a data of all those who are unemployed, so that when we're faced with such a situation, we're able to say, what can we do? So for the moment, I think government is looking at the means supporting those from the Solidarity Fund which has been put in place.
Minister, let me be very specific. I'm not speaking now about extending UIF benefits to workers that are freelancers and that work in the gig economy. I'm talking specifically about whether you, as the Minister of Employment and Labour, is forwarding to those cabinet discussions the option of rolling out measures to workers in the informal economy. Is that something that you will support as a member of cabinet?
It's something which we have been discussing, and we are very clear that with the law as is now, we won't be able to do that. That's why we're talking the Solidarity Fund. But however, it's a matter which is concerning almost everybody, including us. That is why we think that for the future, we must start developing, putting a database together with the social development on all those who are employed, or those who are employed in the, as you are saying, in the informal sector. But we must be clear, what do we actually mean by people employed in the informal sector? Then we need the records, and we need to be very clear about the criteria which we are putting in place.
All right, let's take a short break. When we come back, Labour Minister Thulas Nxesi will talk about employers and the efforts by the department to get them to comply with regulations during the lockdown. Stay with us.